Hey guys, we're back again. So, you're probably wondering, what the heck is he doing now? I have a broadleaf, I have a grass, I have a limited amount of generator capacity, which is the ball of water. I have a second one here for my second example. So we're going to discuss what the heck is electricity and how does it work. This is in weed zapper terms. Okay? So, first of all, we're just going to go through our different plants. As we can see, we'll start off with our broadleaf. The broadleaf is a nice size diameter. You're going to get a lot of volume of electricity through that because it's a nice size diameter. It's a good conductor of electricity. If I was to pour water through this, well, number one, I'd be in trouble because it came out of my wife's office. Number two, I could pour a lot of water through there very easily. So a broadleaf is a good conductor of electricity. So with broadleaf, we can run a lower pressure because the water flows through there very nicely. It has a nice sized conductive stem. We don't need to hit it with high pressure and overheat our system. This is a grass. You can see here, this came out of the downstairs and I can throw it away so it won't matter. But you can see grass versus broadleaf. A lot of capacity difference there, right? So with grass, how in the world do I get enough energy through that size to kill a grass plant? Well, that's where the pressure comes in. So voltage is like pressure, okay? We're going to use this in terms that everybody understands. We're going to go to hydraulics. So if your hydraulic system has a limited amount of hydraulic capability, just like this bottle has a limited amount of water, we can pour it out a little bit at a time, which would be a low pressure hydraulic system. That's okay when we have a great big hydraulic hose to pour that through. But whenever we're messing with a little grass where we have a limited amount of carrying capability, we got to turn the pressure up. Same amount of water, more pressure is added. Why don't we do that on this? Well, number one, we don't need to. Number two, we're going to overheat the system. And number three, you will get a stem blowout. Usually, if I'm running through the field and I'm shocking right here, you'll see this stem blow out right here because of too high a voltage. So the weed zapper, we're going to go into the settings on the monitor. I'll get this stuff off the table now so that we can focus on what's important. But our weed zapper has a pressure setting. It's this screen right here. So we have the broadleaf setting, which runs about 25% more pressure than the short and low weed. We have the grass setting that runs about 20% more pressure than the broadleaf. So why not run grass all the time? This is 20% more only when we're not overloading the system. That comes in a later video, but we will touch on it briefly here. If we are overloading our system's capability, this will overheat our generator about 20 to 25% faster, and it will only produce about 2% more voltage or 2% more pressure. At 2% more pressure, you won't get enough volume to handle the shutdowns. You won't get enough additional volume to handle the shutdowns because of overheating issues. Okay, so the way this system is designed, we have short or low weeds. This is a scenario where weeds are knee-high or less. If we're running in wet ground conditions where it's rained or something, I'm not talking about dew on the crops because we can't do that. We will melt off insulators. But I'm talking about it's muddy outside. Those wet ground conditions make the ground more conductive. So if we turn our voltage down, then we run less of a chance of dropping an arc to the ground. So we run in this low weed scenario. If you see arcing down to the ground, switch over to your low weed scenario and stop that from happening. We want you to be able to go in any ground condition. Broadleaf is automatically selected by the monitor. This has been our absolute most successful voltage setting. It changes a few more things on the machine, but that's the main thing that we change there. We change the amount of pressure required. It's going to keep you running longer because you're not going to overheat the system, but it's going to give you enough voltage or enough pressure to kill about 80% of the weeds that are out there. This system is not, was not, and will not be a one-pass system. It's no different than your cultivator, your tine weeder, or anything else. Multiple pass. So pass number 1, we're going to hit it on broadleaf. We're going to kill 80% of the conductors out there without overheating our system. Step number 2, or pass number 2 and pass number 3, I tell everybody every field is a 2-pass field. Some fields are 3-pass fields. Some fields only have spots that are 3 passes. Some fields don't have that much weed pressure. Know your field, know your weed type. So we're going to go in, we're going to kill 80% on our first pass. On our second pass, we're going to come back, we're going to hit it with our second pass grass setting, turn our voltage up, and we're going to kill whatever's left. This is how we get 100% weed kill. So, different weeds require different speeds and require different treatments. The broadleaf speed is typically around 3.5 miles per hour. 3.5 miles per hour produces about 1 acre per row per hour. Grass is going to be more of a 2.5 mile per hour because with the smaller stem that I showed you before, we can't get the volume through there as quickly, so therefore we have to hold contact with that straw longer. Think about a straw that you get whenever you buy a milkshake. Little bitty straw, you got to suck really hard to get the same volume through there. Big straw, you don't have to push as hard to get it through there. Okay, you get more volume quicker. Grass is a very small stem, so we're going to turn our pressure up on the grass on the second pass after we killed everything else in the field that's robbing our voltage. We're going to turn our pressure up, and then we're also going to drive just a little slower to really burn that energy in there and get the roots killed on that grass. There's not a field out there that you can't clean up. There's a lot of fields out there that you can't clean up in one pass. I want to talk to you just a little bit about bushels per acre to justify another pass. I only have time to do one pass, but we're selling a high price commodity here in the organic industry. If we're selling conventional, we're having trouble with problem weeds, and those weeds are going to cost us high priced herbicide and yield loss in the future. So I'm going to talk about organics because that's my experiences in organic farming. Organic farming, typically we're looking at around $20 a bushel soybeans, 19, something like that. We're going to use 20 for easy figuring for feed grade, and we're going to use $23 for food grade. On a $23 bushel soybean, we're talking about if we rent the machine, we're probably going to pay out around $30 for rental, $35. We're going to have around $10 to $15 for our tractor, our man, our fuel, and everything else involved there. That's $45 per acre to make our second pass. That takes 2 bushel. Anything over 2 bushel, I get. That's not even counting the weed seed that I'm going to have to fight next year. North Dakota State University did a study this year following a weed zapper and tested seeds that were untouched by the weed zapper. They had a 67% germ rate. They tested seeds that had been hit by the weed zapper in the exact same field and found out that we had a 5% or less germ rate. That's a 62% germ rate reduction. It's worth it to get the second pass. It's not all just about curb appeal of the field. Every seed will eventually come back to haunt you. So make that second pass. Clean those fields up, thinking about it in a multiple pass scenario. I want to show you, if you're trying to run on the grass setting, we'll go ahead and start our zapper running here. If you're trying to run on the grass setting, what you're going to end up seeing a lot is you're going to see your amp scale coming across. This is an indicator that we'll talk about in a later video here. This is an indicator that we're overloading the system. This particular system is designed to run at 450 amps. As long as I'm running at 450 amps continuous or less, then I will not see anything on my amp scale. If I exceed the 450 amp limitation of the system, Number one, I'm not going to get as good a kill rate. Number two, I am going to overheat the system, over amperage the system, and I am going to have a lessened weed kill because of that. So the second thing that you're going to see when you get into that and you're trying to run it in that grass setting is you're going to see it takes a lot of horsepower. Whenever it takes a lot of horsepower and my tractor only has so much to give, I'm going to get low RPM warnings. We discussed this in the next video as well, much more in depth. This causes overheating of the generator. This causes a 2-minute shutdown whenever you overheat the generator. Whenever you stop for 2 minutes, now you don't get across as many acres in a day. Keep the machine moving, steady Eddie wins a race. So keep in mind, choose your weed selections wisely. If you're going in on your first pass, I don't care if you're going in on a grass field. I always go in on the broadleaf setting. I always kill the 80% first because I always know that I'm coming back a second time on the grass setting. I don't have the intention of ever hitting it once. I also understand that if I'm overloading the system, the only thing I'm doing is overheating my generator and getting 2% more voltage. It won't do you any good. Hey guys, I want to mention to you that we do offer weed treatment techniques. We have those available on the website. They're free. Just like the operator's manual, it's free. We don't charge you for it. These are techniques that I have found from my own personal experience in the weed zapping for all the years that we've been doing it. These are what I found work. They work on different weed species. They work on different field scenarios. Download those for free. Read them off. Throw them away if you don't like them, but this is what's worked for me. Choose your technique wisely. Thanks and God bless.